All right, everybody, phone lines are open, as I promised. Toll-free number right there. Let's bring it up on the screen, 888-766-2428. Also spells out 888-RNN-CHAT. Question, do you support the impeachment inquiry? Well, let me bring on, to help me out with the calls here, our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman. He nodded also because he does believe the answer to our question is yes. I want to give you where the public stands on this. New numbers are out from CBS, and they show that more than half of the American public supports the impeachment inquiry. Only about 45% oppose it. I should tell you, before Ukraine, those numbers were reversed, even the gap being even larger. A new CNN poll asked whether or not President Trump ought to be impeached and removed from office. 47% said yes, that's up 6 points since May, and less than that, 45% said no. In May, more than half the public did not want Trump removed. All right, let's go right to the phones. Let's start off in Massachusetts. Sandy joins us. Sandy, you're on the line.
Hi.
Hi, Sandy. So what do you think? Should they move ahead with an impeachment inquiry?
I say we go forward with it. If we can't get him out of there by the time November comes next year, he won't be able to walk through that door on a second run with this, you know. And I would love to see them all pay a heavy price for this and find out that all the cuts that they made on low to middle-aged the economy people, they get to know what it feels like and want those laws reinforced so they can live off of it, you know?
Hey, Sandy, I appreciate that. Let's see if Ted in Philly agrees with you. Ted, the floor is yours. Same question. And your area Congress people, are, if they're on the fence, they're trying to get the sense of the electorate. Do I move ahead with an impeachment inquiry? If they asked you, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them that the Constitution requires it. I mean, it's as simple as that. Also, I'd like to highlight something you said earlier about Trump not having much shame. Well, actually, he has no shame. He's a psychopath, and they don't have any shame. I mean, he could rape Katie Curry on rape and murder Katie Curry.
Let's not go down that road. The point though is. The president hasn't exhibited in 4 years any recriminations for anything that he's done, maybe with the exception of the Access Hollywood tape because the audio was right there for it. Do you think, and tomorrow we're going to hear from the Inspector General, do you think there's a voice left out there that can break through the divide of people going in their respective corners?
I think it's Trump's voice. I think if we find out that there's more to this, that he's done this with other world leaders, that he's made other promises or made other deals that had to be kept secret because they would be so unpalatable to the American public, I think his is a voice that could go. I think there are probably a few minor or a few figures in the Republican Party who could sway public opinion. I mean, I think former President Bush theoretically could, but I would not expect him to voice anything. Somebody like a Colin Powell, perhaps, could come out. But
you know, I think it's notable. We've seen Kevin McCarthy go on the Sunday shows and claim that the president was being misquoted when it was right there in the transcript, and a few others. But I've taken note how many Republicans have held their tongue, and they haven't rushed to the president's defense fairly. They also haven't condemned the president publicly, but they're waiting here because they don't know what else is out there. If the whistleblower testifies, we believe he will as early as this week behind closed doors, and there'll be compelling testimony that even, I don't know what the Devin Nunes of the world, but the other members of the House Intelligence say, oh, there may be some there, and there may be other conversations with Russians, with the Saudis. Not that you need more than we already know, but that's where I'm going to be very curious to see if some of the Republican senators start to say, we have a problem here.
Well, it's only, the developments are only, I think, of interest to them in terms of how they impact the numbers. They're going to be watching the numbers in their states, their districts, and nationally on impeachment. And if the numbers continue to climb for impeachment, that may change some lawmakers' votes, but it's not likely to change significantly unless there are new developments.
The one thing I would say, I normally agree with you, but the absence of any discretion. I mean, since this story broke, and we did some of the highlights, the president has threatened to bring back executions. He's threatened to arrest his investigators in Congress. I know you're not defending any of this, but my point is, if he's willing to say that in public, what do you think he said in private conversations with other world leaders after the Khashoggi murder with the Saudis, with Putin after everything went down? Do you imagine what else is out there?
These are all fair criticisms to have of this president, as are the criticisms we got from our first two callers. Sandy, who didn't like his policies, and our last caller from the Philadelphia area who thought he was a bit of a psychopath. These are all valid reasons to not like him. But in terms of the impeachment, it's got to be on these specific issues, or the people who are left in the middle, who haven't made up their mind yet, are going to think that we're just relitigating the election.
So let me bring in Mike from Fairfield, New Jersey. And Mike, I know you don't want to move forward with impeachment, but if you're comfortable, and it's there in the transcript, and it's a credible, Mike, whistleblower, and the Inspector General says he is, and even the DNI says as much, and he says the president tried to trade our tax dollars in military aid to try and get dirt on a political opponent. If you're comfortable that that's all true, would that be enough to change your mind that you can't have a president sitting in the Oval Office who do something like that?
All right. Where I have an issue, with the inquiry and is that it's not unbiased. There's a bias here. And the bias is going one way, and it goes strictly against the President of the United States.
Cut you off, so I want to ask you my question again, which is, forget what I think, forget what Andrew thinks, forget what the other callers think. You read the transcript, okay? Now again, the Director of National Intelligence was appointed by President Trump. The Inspector General is a nonpartisan appointee. If they tell you what their transcript says, and let's say we finally get it out of the server, and to your satisfaction, you believe the words that are on the transcript are accurate, forget talking heads like me, is it enough for you to say, wait a second, a president using money to basically coerce a guy who's afraid the Russians are coming over the border, you're only going to get the money if you get me dirt on my political opponent. For you, is that a bridge too far that you say, I can't have that guy as my president anymore?
I have, again, I guess to answer your question, I'd have to look at everything in its totality. Okay? We're talking about hypotheticals here. And, I wouldn't be prepared to answer on that until I saw all the information and looked at its origins.
I hear you, and I appreciate that, Mike, okay? But my point is, unlike a lot of the stuff with the Mueller report, Andrew, we're not dealing with hypotheticals. The transcript, and I suggest not only Mike, but everybody at home, you read it. It's 7 pages. It's easily digestible. It's right there in black and white. And no one, yes, the president may have denied it, but nobody within the intelligence community is denying its accuracy to this point. It lays out clearly, I, President Trump, and you, the Ukrainian president, I say, hey, how's everything going?
I need missiles.
And you're willing. I want to buy your with the Stingrays or whatever. I want to buy yours for $400 million. I've got ready to go. I need a favor from you, okay? And what I need a favor from you is I need dirt on my political opponent. They clearly understood that. If you read the transcript, they knew, the Ukrainians, that was going to be topic one on the conversation because they already canceled meeting with the Ukrainians before. They canceled conversations with them before. They wanted something, they being this White House, and they wanted dirt on an opponent. To me, this is clear. This is black and white. This is an opinion, or this isn't bias. Read it yourself. See what you think. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going right back to the phone lines, Andrew and I. We'll get to more of your phone calls. If you haven't joined us, there's the number to do so. Quick 2 minutes. We'll be back on the other side.